Welcome to day 28 of Michael Keaton Month, where I'll be reviewing all the movies that Michael Keaton has appeared in. We're nearly at the end now, and today I'm going to be talking about his directorial debut, the first and only film he's directed thus far, The Merry Gentleman. This movie was released on the 18th of January 2008 at the Sundance Film Festival. It was then released through many festivals throughout 2009 in America. It was released in theaters in America on the 1st of May 2009, and then it was released worldwide in many different countries throughout 2009 and 2010. It was a low-budget movie, an independent movie. And before I even get into what I thought about this movie, which I love by the way, so stick around if you want to hear me gush about how much I love this movie. But there's a lot of legal stuff that I want to talk about, and I don't really know the full story, but I want to mention it anyway. Now, as late as August this year, Keaton has been sued for this movie. Now, the story is, actually, I'll just get into the trivia before, to make sure I get the writer's name right, but the guy who wrote this movie, Ron Lazzaretti, he was also slated to direct the film. But at the last minute he suffered a ruptured appendix, and Keaton offered to direct the movie instead rather than watch the film get cancelled. And he had long expressed an interest in directing, and the film seemed like a perfect opportunity. So, you know, he stepped in and, you know, directed the movie. And what happened was, from what I can tell, I've looked at many different websites, many different versions of the story. I'm sure that what I'm going to tell you is not the full account. I'm sure I'm going to get things wrong, but there's no real way to know the full story about this. And because it is such a low-budget film that no one really talks about it in general, I have a feeling we're never going to know the full story. It's not important enough for the full details to be released, but I want to touch on it anyway. Allegedly, you know, the producers have said that Keaton was a diva during the production of the film, was difficult to work with. Other people have said he wasn't. And I think that was the one that was reported by TMZ, who like to stir the shit like no other. So I don't believe that for a second. You know, from what I've seen, Keaton is just such a great guy, down to earth and professional, and I'm sure that that wasn't the case. But apparently, when the film had finished production, he wasn't willing to sit in on the editing and prepare the final cut, and they said that it wasn't in his contract to do so, and they're saying that it was. Something along those lines. He went fly fishing instead of doing what they wanted him to do, and he cut the film. Again, someone else says allegedly that he wasn't happy with the way that he cut the film, but then it also says that they were going to screen their own version at Sundance, and this is a company called The Merry Gentleman who put $4 million behind the movie. And The Merry Gentleman company, they recut the film and wanted to screen that at Sundance. When he found out about that, he said, "I'm not going to turn up unless you screen my version." And again, that doesn't fit. If he wasn't happy with his version, maybe he did another version. I don't know. Apparently they set up this whole editing facility for him where he was instead of him coming to them, and then something to do with him going fly fishing again. And then some people are saying that, you know, Sundance said if Keaton's not showing up, we're not screening the movie. Some have said that Keaton had friends in Sundance who said that, you know, we won't screen the movie unless you know, you do what he wants you to do. And they think that it was ridiculous demands, but they gave in to his demands anyway. And you know, he turned up, and apparently the version that was screened at Sundance was just universally acclaimed across the board. People loved it, and then when it came out in theaters and on DVD, it was a different cut. Now, I'm not sure again what the story is with this. The time listing on IMDb is 1 hour 50 minutes. The version I saw was 1 hour 35, including credits. So I don't know whether this is the Keaton version or the producer's version. I'd love to see more of the film, because I would have gladly sat through another hour of this movie, because I loved everything about it. So I'm not sure what the story is now. I'm sure we're never going to find out, and I'm sure that we're not going to see the full version of the movie. But again, I don't know if this is Keaton's version or the Merry Gentleman Company's version. Now, they didn't make much money on this movie when it was released, only like a few $100,000, so I think that's probably why they're suing him. Apparently they want millions, up to millions in damages, again, allegedly, apparently. And there's lots of different kind of arguments that are going on. And it's really this year that the lawsuit is being filed. I don't know why it's taken 5 years for him to get around to doing this. Again, I'm really not sure what is going on with it, and nothing kind of final has been said about it yet. So that's interesting to me, and kind of sad that it's gone down that route, because you know, just people squabbling over money. And for me, I've got to take Keaton's side, because again, I'm a big fan of him, so I'm going to be biased, but I really don't think that he you know, that he would be a diva and just make ridiculous demands. But again, I'd understand it, you know, if he wanted his version shown. Again, I'm not sure what really went on. Apparently the producer said that he wasn't a good director as well. I would disagree from looking at the film. Before I get into my review, I'm going to leave you with a clip. Well, not leave you, but I'm going to add a clip in now of Keaton talking about how he got into making this movie and his thoughts on being a director.
Your directorial debut, The Merry Gentleman.
Yes.
I know that, yeah.
Thank you.
It just screened at Sundance. Originally you were attached to act only and not to direct. Your directorial involvement came about through a circuitous way. If you want to tell us a little bit about that, and also how you balanced acting and directing.
Turns out that the writer was supposed to direct and then couldn't direct it, and I threw my hat in the ring. What I did was actually I said I called the producers and said, "Are you guys going to be around on whatever date?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, I'm gonna fly to Chicago." And they said, "Really?" And they had met me or didn't know anything about me. I said, "Yeah." And I said, "You know, just let's be between 1 and 2 or somewhere." So I showed up, sat down, talked to them, hung out, just talked, asked a lot of questions, and then left. And then I got to the airport. I called them and said, "Hey, I think I might want to direct this thing. I'm going to be in LA in a few hours, and think about that." And then it started happening, and it came together, and came together too fast. but you know, there was no turning back on that either. So we were into it, and I was fully committed, and it was extremely satisfying. And directing myself was, I got to tell you, I really like directing myself. I'd work with me anytime. I did. I thought, yeah, man, yeah, I know, you know, that's a good idea. This guy's great. Well, for one thing, the reason I liked it was it saved us a lot of time. What's that expression? The shoemaker's daughter, you know, or you know, the shoemaker's daughter always has bad shoes or something like that. That's the problem. You know, you kind of, you know, watch the scene, and we didn't have time for many takes for anybody because it was a very low budget and very few days to shoot. So, but you know, you manage your time, and I'd work, and you know, like Kelly or one of the other actors, you know, and some of them had done very, very little, so you really work with them and work with them and work with them, and then you're up, and it's like, you know, I'd do a take and then go, "What do you think?" And they said, "Yeah, I didn't really love the way you didn't really hit the mark." And so I go, "Okay, good." I'd do another one, and I'd go, you know, "Was I in focus?" And I go, "Yeah." I go, "Let's go." You know, it was just kind of, you don't take good enough care of yourself. That's the one thing you have to watch after. You have to really, you keep forgetting. You go, wait a minute, you're in this thing. You know, you're actually going to be on the screen. A lot of people are going to see it. But I kind of already, I could shortcut everything. I could, what's it, shorthand everything with myself, because I kind of knew what I was going to do anyway, and as long as I wasn't too far off course, you know. I think certain things, I have a thing now that I'm looking at to do, and I'm not sure I'm going to direct. I'm in every bit of it, and that might be a heavy load, so I don't know about that one. But I like that experience.
Okay, so The Merry Gentleman, and going back to the lawsuit thing again, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure if anything has been settled. Nothing's been announced online or anything, so again, up in the air. But it's just, that's the story behind it legally, and it's just a real shame that that kind of stuff went down on such a great movie. The Merry Gentleman stars Michael Keaton as Frank Logan, who's this kind of suicidal hitman who really, as much as you can glean from watching his character on the screen, is that he's not happy with himself, he's not happy with the fact that he's a hitman, and he's ready to end it all. And he's about to jump off a building and kill himself, and a woman spots him and shouts at him to not do it. And he kind of slips and he falls, and she's kind of saved him, you know, and they develop a relationship, and you know, he kind of turns up at her building as she's fallen over with his Christmas tree, and he helps her up with the Christmas tree, and they form an unlikely friendship. And she's in a similar situation to him. She's not a hitman, but she's been through an abusive relationship with her husband. She's moved away from her husband and just packed up and left and started a life completely on her own in this new place, and it's Christmas time. And she's trying to make the best of it, but she's very closed off, just like he's closed off. So you got these two very private people and a very unique relationship that develops from that. And he knows who she is because he was actually looking through a sniper rifle at the building because he killed someone, and he saw her there standing at the window with her arms out, looking straight at the lens. And what she was doing was describing to her co-worker that she had gone to a church earlier that day, And even though she's not religious, she found the image of the statue of Jesus holding his arms out to be very comforting. And even though, you know, doesn't believe in it, that she just wants to run in and be hugged by him, you know. And so, you know, this is kind of divine intervention kind of going on, where Keaton kind of was about to kill himself, and then, you know, was stopped by her shouting because she sees him on top of the building. She's looking up at the snow, and then she spots him. And then there's this cop who comes into the situation because she calls the police when she sees him fall down, because you know, she wanted to see what was going on. And then they realise that a guy had been shot in the building that night, so that this guy wasn't just there trying to kill himself, he was there with a gun. So this cop is investigating. You know, he's a bit of a big guy, and he kind of he questions Kelly MacDonald's character. Not sure if I even mentioned it was played by Kelly MacDonald. Her name's Kate Fraser, and he interrogates Kate. Well, not interrogates, but questions Kate, and he kind of takes a liking to her, and so he's trying to call her up and ask her out for a dinner, for dinner. It's very awkward, and he kind of asks her out without really stating that it's, you know, for pleasure, not business, and so the wires get crossed. And, you know, I like this character because he's really insecure about being quite, you know, a bit fat and stuff, and it just seemed very realistic to me that this kind of tough cop character would be really insecure about his personal appearance. It's just what real people are like, you know. But Keaton as Frank Logan, very subtle performance from Keaton. I mean, the whole first act of the movie, we don't hear him speak a line of dialogue, but we're so intrigued by his character. I was so intrigued by his character. You know, the opening of the movie, we see him just casually walk over to a guy in his car and shoot him, and that's when this kind of Christmas jingle starts. It's a very offbeat opening to the movie. You know, and he's kind of ill as well, and you know, and Kate sees him collapse outside her apartment because he comes over to see how she is one night, and he collapses, so she takes him to the hospital, and that's where they're kind of forced to kind of interact a bit more, and it's kind of awkward, but it's that kind of silence that is just interesting to watch, and again, to see these two very private characters interact with each other in a weird way. And, you know, spend Christmas Day together, or at least, you know, spend some time together on Christmas Day. They've both got no one, you know, and she just says, you know, you seem like a very private person, and he doesn't really answer, and she says, okay, I am too, and then there's just this silence, and it just seems to me like in the hands of you know, 100 other writers, there would just be a scene where Frank's like, you know, when I was 15 years old, I started killing, and just, you know, just go into the whole backstory of it, and we don't need to know that, you know. I thought it was great that we never really found out more about Frank, and it was more about them just connecting with each other and giving each other comfort, you know, outside of just, you know, sexual kind of lust, and just a kind of a loving friendship that's, again, really just subtle. And you know, her husband finds her and comes back, and that leads to more complications, and then the ending of the movie, you know, where it all comes to a head. You know, the detective guy, he kind of figures out who Frank is through another series of events I won't go into, because I really think people should watch this movie, and this movie really deserves more attention. And there's a great shot at the end of the movie, this great 3 to 4 minute tracking shot of Kate and Frank having this conversation. There's no eye contact between them, and it's yeah, it was just a really well done scene, acted, and just the way it was shot. Some good direction in this movie. I really liked the way everything was framed, and the end of the movie was just perfect for me, because, and I was getting really tense because I was thinking, this movie's so good, I don't want it to flake out in the ending, and it didn't flake out for me. It was an ending that was fairly ambiguous but fairly straightforward at the same time. It was an ending that was satisfying, kind of frustrating, and at the end of it left me kind of thinking, what do I make of that? What do I think of that, you know? And I was sat there and I watched the whole credits roll, and I just thought, yeah, that was a great movie. And that's what all movies should be. You should be sat at the end of the movie, and you shouldn't want to stand up straight away. You know when you're in a theater and the credits roll and everyone's like, right, okay, bags on, let's fuck out of it. A great movie to me is a movie where you actually sit for at least a good minute, just kind of just soaking in what you just seen, and that's how I felt after I watched The Merry Gentleman. I thought it was a great acting job by Keaton. Kelly MacDonald was fantastic. Some great supporting characters and actors in the movie as well, and the direction by Keaton I think was great. Wasn't like amazing, like I was like, oh my god, this is like a new auteur, this is fantastic, but really good. And again, I've said this so much now. I mean, I've said this sentence, and also I've said that me saying this sentence is a broken record, and that in itself is becoming a broken record, but Keaton's just a master of subtlety, and I loved his performance in the movie. And just this movie was great. It was really, really great, and I can't wait to watch it again. And I just wish we could find out more about it, and particularly this lawsuit. I hope it ends and just gets settled and no money has to change hands, because I just think that's stupid, you know. It seems to me, again, my uneducated opinion, that because they didn't make much money, you know, a few $100,000, and they put like $5 million or $4 million into it, they lost a lot of money, and you know they want some change back, because Keaton's he's a big name. Or well, he was a big name, and you know they're trying to get some money back out of that. I think. I don't know. But either way, Merry Gentlemen is a brilliant movie. You should definitely check it out. I recommend it highly. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Nice fucking model!